himself that there is no one like McCavity because he's a fiend. Fiend means a demon, an evil, a bad person in feline shape. Feline means resembling a cat, cat-like shape. So the poet calls him a cat-shaped devil or a cat-like monster. He says that McCavity is the monster of depravity. Depravity means moral corruption. So the poet here is saying that McCavity is morally corrupt, an unethical cat who engages in wrong deeds or crimes. So he is morally corrupt person. You may meet him in a by street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime is discovered, then McCavity is not there. The poet says that it is so difficult to find and identify McCavity because you may find him or see him on the road or even in the town square, but you will never be able to find him at a crime scene. So in this stanza, the poet compares McCavity with a demon, a monster who engages in morally corrupt behavior, one who is a criminal, right? So that was the stanza-wise explanation of the poem. Let's now discuss the literary aspects of the poem. So first we'll discuss the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme is the sequence of rhyming words at the end of each line of the poem, right? Let's look at these words. The first word is paw, which rhymes with law. So we'll quote them as AA. Despair, dare. These two words also rhyme with each other, so we'll quote them as B. McCavity, gravity. They rhyme, so we'll quote them as A. Stare, there, air, there. All of these are rhyming words, so we'll quote them as B. Thin, in. We'll quote them as A. Domed, uncombed. B, because they rhyme. Snake, awake. Again, they rhyme, so we'll quote them as C. McCavity, depravity. We'll quote them as AA because they are rhyming. Square rhymes with there, so we'll quote them as BB. So this was the rhyming scheme of the poem. Now let's discuss the poetic devices. The poetic devices are the techniques or devices that are used by the poet to make the poem even more effective, even more interesting for the audience. Let's discuss the first poetic device, which is alliteration. Alliteration is a device where two or more words in the same line of poetry have the same beginning consonant sound. I'll explain it with an example. Tall and thin, the t sound is repeated. So therefore this is an example. Another example is his head highly. There's a repetition of the her sound. So therefore this is an example of alliteration. Let's look at another example. Fiend, feline. So the f sound is repeated. So all of these are the examples of alliteration.